China has been working at a tremendous speed for improving its military power, and more importantly, the country has giant but scary results. For example, China has developed a missile that can travel at 5 times the speed of sound and can't be detected by a radar system. This is giving sleepless nights to the US leaders. However, this is nothing compared to the next level military technology that China has developed, which is far exceeding any other nation in this regard. With that, SpaceX CEO Elon Musk came out and stated that the USA needs to act quickly to improve technology or it's not looking great. But the main question is it too late for the USA to keep up? Or has China already become too powerful? Well, let's explain. China has exploded onto the global scene and emerged as one of the world's leading economies in the last 2.5 decades. To put things into perspective, China's share of the world's GDP 25 years ago was a meager 3%, which has since grown to a staggering 18.8%. Along with their economy, China's military has also become a formidable force, thanks to the ever-increasing defense budget over the years. Back in the 1990s, China had a tiny defense budget of fewer than $15 billion. That figure has since grown to about $229 billion, an increase of 7.1% from the previous year. However, that is still a fraction of the USA's annual defense budget of around $778 billion. Even with much lower funding, China has established a force that is the third, if not the second, strongest in the world. There might be several reasons for that. One of them is China's laser-sharp focus on regional development. While the US serves as a global guardian, China focuses mainly on its regional interests. The US has hundreds of military bases all around the world, while China only has one. Along with the US's war on terror in the Middle East and Afghanistan, there is a stark difference between the two nations' military spending. With the US having evacuated Afghanistan, that is sure to save them a few $billion every year that they can focus elsewhere. Another contributing factor is the availability of cheap labor and raw materials in China. The per capita income in China is almost $17,000, compared with a staggering $66,000 in the US. China has been investing heavily in advancing their missile technology, and with the provision of cheap labor and materials, they are capable of manufacturing destructive missiles that are at par with the US ones, but are much cheaper. It has been said that China's cheap missiles are capable of destroying targets that are much more expensive than them. With continuous investment in advanced technology, China has overtaken the US and Russia in some military aspects. One of those is its hypersonic missiles. These weapons of mass destruction can fly at speeds of up to 5 times the speed of sound. However, that is not even the greatest thing about them. What truly makes them so special is their ability to fly at super low altitudes, which render most of the radar systems of the world useless. Until the very last minute, they cannot even be detected by the radar system, and most of the time, it is too late to intercept them. China famously displayed its hypersonic missiles in a parade in 2019, which sent ripples of concern around the world. With the US falling far behind, its military leadership certainly had a lot to worry about. General Mark Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, admitted that China's tests of hypersonic missile technology were very concerning. According to the US, these missiles could be a game changer. The fact that the US would not be able to test its first battery of similar missiles earlier than 2023 has caused a lot of anxiety in the US camp. While the US is trying to match China's advanced missile technology, the latter is quickly putting together a Navy force that will be on par with the US's. If the developments continue at a similar rate, then soon enough China will have the upper hand in the arms race, as the US just cannot manufacture military equipment like ships, for example, at the same pace. The largest commercial shipbuilding industry in the world belongs to China, which is responsible for 40% of the world's ship production. While the US and their allies manage only about 1% of that figure, with this production capacity, the Chinese Navy can easily match or even overtake that of the US if they wish to. And if a time of war falls upon them, they will be capable of putting forth numbers that the US or any other country in the world could possibly not match. However, that is not all. In addition to an elite navy and hypersonic missiles, China also seems to have an upper hand in the most important aspect of how wars are fought in the 21st century, cyber warfare. According to sources, China's cyber forces are the biggest in the world, which is something the US is most worried about. However, there is one very important thing that the Chinese army lacks. While Harry Harris, a retired admiral of the US Navy, admits that China's new technology and numerical strength of its military are very impressive, the PLA still lacks experience in conducting widespread military operations, unlike the US. The last time the Chinese fought a major war was in 1979 against Taiwan. It lasted for only a few weeks, and it has been estimated that 7,900 to 26,000 Chinese soldiers lost their lives, with many more wounded. The war was fought primarily by the ground forces, and the Chinese Navy and Air Force had no role to play. According to the analysts, China did not do well in this war at all. Another aspect that puts the US Army way above the PLA is their refining of intra-branch harmony and coordination, which they have achieved over decades of joint training exercises, as well as fighting several campaigns around the world. With the PLA's lack of fighting experience, Harris does not see the joint architecture robustly in existence of the Chinese military. According to a recent report by the US Defense Department, the leadership of China is well aware of their forces' lack of combat experience and is trying to fill that gap by introducing more exercises that focus on combined arms operations. While the Chinese army might have its limitations in terms of experience, the gap will be filled by advancements in other fields, like weapon technology and artificial intelligence. If China keeps making progress at such a rapid pace on the military front, President Xi Jinping believes that by 2050, China will become a world-class military power.